Hey everyone, it's me, C, back here with another video. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little different and something that I kind of wanted to do, especially with 3rd anniversary going full steam ahead right now in the game. So today, I'm going to be doing a tips and tricks video on some beginner tips for new players of Dragalia Lost. So, in case you're new to Dragalia Lost, I hope this video does help you, as I am a day 1 player. I've seen this game through all 3 years of its life, so I've definitely have seen this game grow a lot and can tell you from experience what you should be working on right now and what you should not be focusing on, plus some things to keep in mind you may not understand. So, if you like what I do and want to see more, feel free to subscribe. I always appreciate it. I actually kind of want to see if we can get to 250 subs. I think that's our new goal since we completely smashed the 200 goal. Thank you guys so much. And also, if you want more from me or anything like that, you can also check the links in the description where I have a Twitter account where I talk there. Semi-regularly, and a Discord server. So if you are new to Dragalia and you have questions and stuff, or you want some new friends to talk to, feel free to come by. We'd love to have you there. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the tips. So let's start off with the first tip. So right after re-rolling your characters and you found a setup that you like in terms of your rolling results, start focusing on upgrading a team consisting of either one element or a rainbow team. So let's go over to the teams and talk about that. So let's just use my flame team for this, just for right now, just as like a pure example. So Dragalia, like many other gacha games, has elements that their characters' weapons and dragons are attached to. So I'm just saying like weapons or dragons because that's some of the stuff in the game that have weapons that have elemental attunement. Each element has their own weaknesses and strengths, much like a Pokemon game, which I will be putting a little type chart on the screen if I can find it. So of course, water is strong against fire, fire is strong against wind, wind is strong against water. I don't understand that part, but okay, I guess. I'm guessing it means it's like a wind is like our placeholder for like a grass. So like, say you've played a Pokemon, think of like the starters. Think of like the starters in a Pokemon game. Then that will be really easy for you to understand. And light and dark counter each other, or light and shadow counter each other in this sense. It is very, very important to be prepared for all fights in this game, since this game has a very, very heavy focus on the elemental strengths and weaknesses. So, let's say you walked into a fight with a off-element team. You're going to be doing less damage to that boss than you would originally do. So say you went into that same boss fight with a team that was elementally strong against the elements of the boss, and you'll be doing more damage than you would have otherwise. So, it is very, very, very important to do that. But, starting off, just do one team. So, how are you going to determine what you do? So, once you finish re-rolling, considering looking through your box, which you can do through going to your collection page and go on the Adventurers tab and just scroll down the list. And you can also do the same for your dragons as well. Just scroll down the list, see what you got. If you got a lot of good stuff in one element, then I think you should be using that one element. So for me at the beginning, that was light, and that is actually one of the worst elements to start with. Light is not a good element to start with personally, in my opinion, but I did it and it somehow freaking worked. So, you know, that worked. So you might be wondering, why do you think that picking one element is a good way to start? This helps with not having to spread your resources across different elements, like say for a rainbow team, which I will get to rainbow teams if you are wanting to do a rainbow team. So it is more better for that, so you have more of a focus. So let's say you start with flame, like on my flame team right here. then you'll be more focused around farming for flame-oriented stuff. That is what you should be working on more instead. So, rainbow teams. That is another way that you can start off the game. Let me show you a rainbow team, for example. So this is a team I use for a late game fight, but we're not going to talk about that here because this is for beginners, so I won't talk about that. So, what is the term rainbow teams? As you can see, I have characters in different elements. For this example, we have a character in flame, a character in water, and 2 characters in shadow. So it is a mix mash of several different elements. This is something I more recommend if you have good units spread across different elements. So say on your rerolling you got, let's say Mim and Grace. You got Mim and Grace, which is like if you did, kudos to you. Holy crap, that's really good. So if you did get that, that is something you could do. This is a little bit different because it doesn't have a clear focus on one element. This direction can work. I've seen people do it and it can work, don't get me wrong, but you will have to spread your resources across several elements, which can leave you dry later on for certain things instead of in one element. So you'll be using more honey in certain ways for farming stuff. That's why I think elemental, like focusing on one element is a lot better resource-wise at the beginning, so you aren't exactly spending more than you have to for a separate quest to farm it. And one other way you can start off is if you want to focus on co-op, because co-op is a big part of this game. And most of the endgame stuff you will be probably doing in co-op more than solo. So let's go over to some co-op teams. I've been using flame, but let's use a different element. Let's use light because I've been talking about light. So this is how you would do a co-op team. I do want to do a video in the future talking about how to make teams, so I'm just going to lightly cover this. So if you plan to focus on co-op, it is just best to focus on one unit that you want to use for each element rather than a full team. As you can see, I just have Ilya fully decked out with equipment compared to the 3 characters in the back. So that's why it's like you may look at this and be like, why is that team a little wonky? This is because of co-op and wanting to focus on co-abilities. But again, I'm not going to talk about that here. Maybe another video I'll talk about that. So, just keep in mind for co-op, the team leader is the only one that goes into co-op matches unless it is a raid. If it is a raid event, then you have to have a full team of 4. For this anniversary event, it is a little different. So, for the anniversary raid, we only get to bring in 1 character for that. So, it's going to be 16 players with 1 character each. So, basically bring a co-op team with you for that one. So to determine what characters you should play, I totally recommend testing out your characters. Like look at the kits and stuff and see which one of them you like playing as, so you can pick a main character in each element so you're able to tackle content. This will help you a lot and be able to grind stuff. However, co-op is a little dead right now, so I do hope eventually that gets fixed. But for right now, a co-op, if you ever wanted to do co-op, your best bet, to be honest with you, is finding a Discord server with people who played Dragalia Lost and asking them for help. And I've done that before myself, and people are usually willing to help you. So those are a few ways you can start building teams. Tip number 2, give characters equipment that corresponds to their elements for extra might. So now you just built a team. You just have a team ready, so now you're ready to work on giving them equipment. So as said before, just like characters, the weapons and dragons you collect will also have elements attached to them. So some weapons do not follow this rule, like the base worn down weapons, like the worn down sword right here, or the Mega Man weapons, those are elementless. So they can basically be used normally. Would I recommend them? No, because these are mostly just for skins. If anything, I would not recommend using an elementalist weapon if you can. So, for example, with Yuden, Yuden is a flame character. So let's say I equip a flame sword to him. You will see it says same element, which gives him a big boost. This will give them an elemental boost. This elemental boost is for extra might because of the matching element, which can be a big boost to your might for the overall team in the early game, especially when you're trying to push content to unlock everything the game has to offer. So let's say we give him a wind sword, for example, his might will drop. So it is very important you try to at least give them weapons that correspond to their element. If you are using two characters in the same element, I recommend more or less using a weapon of a different element in that scenario, because weapon copies are really fucking expensive, and that is not something you should be worrying about until you get to endgame or you're trying to do weird cheese comps. Do not try to get weapon copies going first on ahead. That is way too expensive for a new player, especially when you get to the late game weapons, which is what I'm using for this. So just keep that in mind. Tip number 3, go through the event compendium. So let's scroll down and find the event compendium, which is right here. The event compendium is as it sounds. As we can see, there's a lot of events in here, a lot of previous events in here. So this is a place where you can play events that you probably might have missed, like say you decided to not play the game around the time that event was active, or you just never have played the game until now. For example, like say you're a new player. So this place, this event compendium, has a lot of great resources for you that, especially early game players, you should not ignore. You should not ignore these. So if you are a new player, be sure to go through this. You will get a lot of great stuff in here. There are plenty of facilities in here that will boost the power of all your units for each of the 5 elements. And those facilities that do that are Flames of Reflection, Miracle of Dragalia, A Wish to the Winds, Dream Under the Big Top, and I think Trick or Treasure does that too, and A Curse of Archives does that as well. So those are the ones that will increase your elemental damage, and the other 2, Crescendo of Courage and Agents of the Goddess, are more weapon specific, so keep that in mind. So I would say do those if you are focusing on a specific weapon type, but still do not ignore those, because these will give plenty of Wormite. I think it's over half a spark they give. I'm not too sure about that. If someone has like the exact calculations, please let me know. There is also 2 raid events. I have the other one active right now, but there are 2 raid events in here. So you get 2 free-to-play units, being Audric and Mordecai. And they range from being okay to pretty damn decent. So if you want some characters to help boost your roster, or say you're working on a shadow team or a light team, those characters will help you out, especially. Especially speaking of light, there are the 2 Fire Emblem collab events, where you will get Alphonse and Sharina, or I don't fucking know how they pronounce her name. It's like Sharda or something? In like the actual game they pronounce it as, but I call her Sharina. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Don't come after me for it. But these 2 are pretty darn decent for light, so it is kind of important to pick these up if you are focusing on light, so you have some free-to-play options for you. So I would say light is a bit more free-to-play friendly over other elements because of these events. Not to mention, of course, again, there is a lot of Wormite, so if you want to summon for anything, this is a great place to get some free Wormite that you might need to push you over the edge to get a unit or something you want, say if you're close to a spark. Tip number 4, summon on galas. So speaking of that war might, you might be asking yourself, or me, I don't know, when should I use my war might on banners? So my personal recommendation is to save for galas. If you want a vast variety of units, it is always the smartest move to save your currency for when a gala banner rolls around. So let's take a look at the appearance rates for this gala, because currently we have a gala. Just note that the time I'm recording this, today is the last day for this current banner, so when this video comes out, it is most likely that this banner has already ended. So don't look at this video thinking that, oh, you can summon on this banner, because it's probably going to be gone by then, and the next banner is most likely going to be our actual anniversary gala, so just keep that in mind. So, galas, if you don't know what they're like your Dokkan festivals or anything like that. These are banners with really, really good units that have increased rates, and the increased rates are 6% for that game. And they have exclusive units that can only be obtained in galas that are actually very, very good and help define metas, which is pretty darn nice. Summoning on galas will give you more bang for your buck in terms of summoning, as you will get more units, not just a featured unit, which could really help you expand your team comps and your roster to try new varying strategies. The normal banner rate is 4%, which, I mean, you can get lucky on that, but 4% kind of sucks, to be honest. And I've played games with worse rates. The 4% rate is nice, but it's just, I feel like that 4% rate is just not good for a new player who's probably looking to get as many good things as possible to help them start out. So the only time I would say do not follow this rule is, say, if there's a limited character or something that you really, really like, say for like a collab or something, because we've had a few collabs in the past, or it's a character you really, really like say you read the event or something for one character and you really like that character and you want to summon for them, by all means, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you otherwise, but it's just, I tend to look at things through a meta way. Be like, what is going to help you clear content? What is going to make things easier for you when you attempt certain content over if you just like the character or not. Everybody summons differently. This is just how I tend to summon, just so I get more bank for my buck. And again, these galas could really help you if you are lacking a good quantity of units in a certain element, which sometimes can happen. Like for me, wind was the bane of my existence forever. So, you know, I kind of had to do a few things to just make sure I had what I needed. Like sometimes I'd have to summon on crappy banners just to get some decent stuff. Sometimes you gotta pull that trigger and do that. So don't let people criticize you for when you summon, because I would say, like, sometimes, like, yeah, some of these are not good ideas to summon on, but if you are absolutely desperate for something, go right ahead. I will not criticize you for that. I will probably not recommend it, but it is your personal judgment on whether or not to summon on something. I'm just saying, for more bang for your buck, you should probably summon on a gala, because you will probably be getting a good chunk of decent stuff while going for that featured unit. Tip number 5, upgrade your facilities. As mentioned before with the event compendium, you do get some facilities for that. You might be asking, what are facilities? Facilities are buildings, so like as you can kind of see here, let's scroll around a little bit. So they're kind of like buildings that you can place in the Halidom grounds, which you can upgrade and boost the might of your units. Some of these do not apply to that, like these mines right here, whoopsies, and the dragon fruit tree and the smithy. These are a bit more unique, and they do not apply to the increased might thing that I was talking about just a second ago. So, do not ignore your facilities. Do not just leave them here to rot. Do not do that. These are going to be a very, very big boost to your overall might and can mean the difference between clearing a hard boss and getting defeated by one. I will stress that several times, guys. Do not sleep on your facilities. These are going to be a big game changer for you if you're trying to clear certain content. So, if you're having trouble clearing a boss, be sure to check the levels of your facilities. If they seem a little low, then I think it might be time to start upgrading them again. As I said with the elements at the start, make sure you focus on your main element first in terms of facilities. So let's just say, for example, you're working on flame. Work on your flame altars, for example. Do that first. And since I mentioned the flames of reflection thing, do the, I think I have that facility up. Yes, this facility right here. That is the flame facility for that event. And also when you get to Agito, work on the flame tree in case you're going that route. And of course, depending on your team makeup, focus on dojos for the weapons your characters use. So let's say you are using a dagger on your team. Then you want to work on increasing the dagger dojos and getting those leveled up. So you can basically upgrade your dagger user. So I know people are probably going to look at this and be like, ooh, I don't like decorating and stuff. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. If you're not the best at decorating your Halidom or just don't like decorating, don't worry. You don't have to have your facilities out in the Halidom grounds. These stat boosts will be permanent boosts to your team. So you do not have to have these out for these boosts to work, which is really nice. So they will still benefit you if, say, you don't have them placed out. So if you're not very good at decorating, there is also the upgrade facilities button where you can just scroll through here and upgrade your facilities this way. I'm still working on some of my stuff, so don't worry about that. So you can just click through here and just find whatever you want to upgrade and do that. You do not have to go through this menu and find them, because I know it can get a little annoying to like scroll through here and find them. I'm just a person who likes decorating, and I just don't want a bland looking Halidom. I just think it feels more lively to have the facilities out here so you can all see them. It just makes it feel more like a community. That's what I'm trying to say. So of course, with that button there, it adds a lot of convenience to newer players. Before this button was revealed and given to us through an update not too long ago, we had to scroll and find these and place them in the Halidom in order to upgrade them, which is kind of annoying. So this is a very nice quality of life feature that I'm very glad that they added into the game for us, which was very nice. Tip number 6, skip the high dragon weapons and go straight to chimera weapons. High dragons are going to be your first roadblock in terms of this game for new players. They might still be for newer players because they're not going to be overpowered as, say, the endgame players are, but they have certainly gotten a lot easier than they used to be back in the day when they were considered the premier endgame of this game. But nowadays, these weapons, the high dragon weapons in specific, so let's just have this right here. So I'm still kind of working on my weapons right now. So again, don't yell at me for that. Sometimes things get in the way and I can't do it. So these weapons do not mean much in the grand scheme of things anymore, especially since we have the amazingly powerful Agito weapons nowadays that you can still use to this day. So nowadays, mostly high dragons are used for money farming and farming for facility tools. That is materials. That is basically it. That's just it at all. If you want good weapons to get you started with endgame, like Agito or even the high dragons themselves, then my friends, look no further than the Chimera Tech weapons. Chimera weapons are actually pretty decent in might, despite them actually being kind of like a sister series to Void weapons, because they are lumped into the Void battles, which you probably will be doing before you tackle high dragons. Chimera weapons are actually not that bad to grind. They don't take too long to grind, so it is actually really, really nice and can help you ease into things. And so you can basically make a lot of these Chimera tech weapons really, really fast, making your team pretty strong to be able to clear, say, standard Agito and even attempt expert. I think, yeah, you could probably clear expert with the Chimera tech weapons if you're around 10k or something like that. So it is very important to work on these Chimera tech weapons, as these will help you ease into the end game a lot better than high dragons, because after high dragons there's not much to go. Plus you will have to make the Chimera tech weapons to bleed into Agito weapons, so be sure you do that as well. So this is a mandatory step for that. Just keep that in mind. Tip number 7, spend your eldwater on worm prints. Worm prints aren't just for pretty art on them. These prints have abilities that can enhance the abilities of your units. I will be going over worm prints more in depth in a separate video, so I will just simply give you a small glance at them here, because, well, there is a lot to talk about with worm prints, and I do not want to overload you with so much information quite yet. This is supposed to be a simpler video. So, how can you purchase worm prints, to be exact? So let's go back over here and let's go into the shop. So you will clearly see a button that says worm prints. So you can go in here and buy some. So for example, let's buy this one. This is one I've been meaning to buy. So let's buy that. So as you can see, I use the currency called eldwater to buy these. Eldwater is not very easy to come by. I know I have like over 900,000 eldwater, but that's because I have not been playing this game very much lately, so I can rack that crap up so much. But that's, you know, again, hiatus. But I know like you will probably be more active at this game than I am right now, so eldwater is going to be coming and going for you. So, to be sure you use your eldwater on prints that you will actually use. Do not pick random prints and expect them to work on a character. Again, on my worm print video, I will be discussing more in depth which prints are used for certain characters. So, of course, be sure to read the character kit so you have a general idea of how they play and what they do, and if they're more damage based or support focused. This will greatly determine which worm prints you should use on which units. If you come across fragments or keys, actually let's go look at those if I can find them in here. So here are some golden keys. So be sure to hold on to those. Those can help you save a bit of eldwater when you're working on unbinding your worm prints. So basically, say you're low on eldwater, but you really, really want to work on this one worm print. So basically, you will want to keep these keys around to help you, because the eldwater requirements can get really, really expensive. How expensive, you may ask? Let's go find that print that I just found. Scorch. Should be right here. We'll load. So, see, 6,000, that's not too bad. 15,000, still not too bad. 24,000, not too bad. 33,000, that can take a little bit of a bite out of your eldwater budget per se. So do mindful of that, because you will also need eldwater to completely mana 50 a character, so keep that in mind. Or if you want to ascend a 4-star into a 5-star, you will need that eldwater. So be sure to think wisely and choose wisely before you start spending your eldwater in places, because the last thing you want is, say you want to work on a character or whatever with eldwater, and you do not have that eldwater needed. Yeah, you're kind of in a hole. So be sure to think wisely about that. And again, I will be discussing worm prints in a future video, so I'm sorry if this part seemed a little tiny bit rushed, but there's just so much to go over with worm prints that I feel it is more necessary to save these for a separate video. Tip number 8, save your sunlight stones. Sunlight stones are an item that can be used to unbind 5-star dragons. I currently do not own a sunlight stone because I use those, and I will explain why I use those in a second, so I'll just show a picture of what they look like right now. These are like eldwater. They are very scarce and rare. So my personal recommendation for these is only use these on dragons you will actually use. But let's dig a little deeper onto that. The reason why I say that is because, you know, I don't want you guys using a sunlight stone on a dragon that you're going to use thinking it's good, and then you'll later find out it's not that good, all that stuff. But there's another reason, but we'll get into that. So, I don't want you guys to have your items like go down the drain and all that, basically is what I'm saying. So, the dragons in particular, I do recommend you use your sunlight stones on our Gala dragon. So let's use my dupe, Reborn Poseidon right here as an example. This is a Gala dragon, so it is a limited dragon. So you will want to use those. So say you are summoning on a Gala and you already have like a max unbound dragon, let's say like this Gala Reborn Poseidon right here. So, say you pick up another one. Do not toss that in the trash. Do not toss that in the trash. I swear to God, do not toss that in the fucking trash. Save those dragons. Save those dragons. Because Gala dragons are basically meta defying and you will want those. And if you have another copy of one, that is going to help your team a lot. Get a great big boost. So, you know, if you ever do manage to pull like another dupe of a dragon you own or something that is already max unbound, hey, do that. But I especially say save your sunlight stones for these things in particular. So like your seasonals, your limiteds, your galas, because those are not in gem pools, so you're not going to be getting them very frequently. So this is a way to max unbind them without having to wait a century for them to come back, which is really, really good. So it is always nice to have these in the back in case, like, say, you pull a new Gala dragon. Like today, I actually pulled Gala Reborn Zephyr for the first time. So I used some sunlight stones to work him up because I had some in the back. Because I want to use them on my wind content stuff. So that is really, really important. Another way you can unbind your dragons is through dupes. So, like, I have 2 of the Monster Energy Drink guy. I have no fucking idea how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to say it. We're calling him Monster Energy Drink guy. So, if you have another copy of that dragon, you can actually unbind them like this. So, let's do that, for example. And every single time you unbind them, their abilities get stronger and stronger. And their skills get stronger, too. So it is important to unbind your dragons when you can. Just, again, be sure to save your sunlight stones for those dragons that you think you will especially need that for. Do not go and wasting those because you will probably get smacked in the face if you get something really, really good and do not have the resources to fully unbind it. So just keep that in mind. Tip number 9, increase bonds with your dragons. So the Dragon Rose feature might seem a bit useless at first, and it's more something extra and cute you can do, but there's actually a lot more here than meets the eye. As we can see here, I have Mini Joopy here. He is going to be my little lab rat for this because he just came out, so I have some time to, you know, increase his bond and all that. So, why should you increase bonds? So, let's give him 1 little clover and see what happens. As you can see here, he gave us a reward. It is a little tiny reward, but hey, you still get rewarded for actually putting the time to do this, which I think is pretty darn nice. In fact. So don't shrug this off. But there is also something rather interesting about it. And of course, Dragon Stories, that's basically like free Wormite. So, you know, read those, get your free Wormite. So I will have an image up on the screen. So this is Mini Joopy's base might. So just keep in mind, he is an anniversary dragon. So he is max unbound and level 100. So he does have that, but there is still ways to increase his might. And this is how you do it. Through gifting gifts like the clover I just gave Mini Joopy, you can increase its bond level, which will slowly give a little tiny increase to his might. But on top of that little tiny might increase, you also get more shapeshift time, allowing you to be in Dragon more often. This is especially more important for characters that like to be in Dragon. So say like Mim or Alberius, for example. Those characters want to be in Dragon more often. And as I've said earlier before, every little bit of might will mean everything in, say you're trying to clear difficult content. That will be the difference between completing such content and not being able to. So, now with that being said, let's see what happens when we give him a lot of clovers and max out his bond, which is the bond max is level 30. I think we might be able to almost do it. We almost did it there. So we gotta do it one more time. So see, we get all these rewards, and with each landmark you hit, you get also rewards. Talent stones are very important for the Dragalia facilities when you do unlock those through completing chapters in the main story. So hold on to those. And plus, also add on to that, hold on to a good stock of clovers as well, in case you get a new dragon and want to use it immediately. So now he hit level 30. He is at max friendship, as we can see up here. So he gave us more rewards. And for increasing his bond to level 30, our final reward is a sunlight ore. As I've stated before, sunlight ore gets you a sunlight stone. So this is a great way to basically farm out sunlight ore to get a sunlight stone. So be sure to utilize this. This should not be overlooked. And also encyclopedia bonuses. But let's check Mini Joopy's power now. So let's go over here to the teams. If it will load. Then let's go to dragons. Let's look at Mini Joopy. So as you can see, let's compare and contrast that might. So as you can clearly see, there has been a boost. So increasing your bond with your dragons does help and will net you a few hundred more or so in might for your dragons. So this is why it is so crucial to not overlook this at all. That's why I feel it is so important to do that. So those are all the tips and tricks I have for you guys. Thank you all so much for listening to me ramble for however long this video is going to be. I do greatly appreciate it, and I do hope these tips and tricks help you as they've helped me in the past. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.